Hi everybody, my name is Alexis Rodriguez and today I will be presenting the presentation on Liberian food etiquettes. In this photo here, it is a traditional dinner set of Liberian food where they would present all of the food at one time. So here you see a mix of foods. Here in the hand, there is jollof rice. The middle part is the light texture is fufu, and the red orange chicken that's presented there is chicken gravy, and these are some of the foods that we'll get into. So first we're going to start with the history and the geography behind Liberia. So Liberia is in the western part of Africa. It's one of the western countries on the western coast. And if you see the picture at the bottom, it neighbors Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Cote d'Ivoire. And those are the neighboring border countries that's around it. Liberia also has mountainous terrain. They have the Nimba Mountains, which is near Guinea, and they also have the Wollogizi Mountains, which is on the bottom half of Liberia, the southern part near the Atlantic Ocean. Talking about the Atlantic Ocean, Liberia has 6 main rivers that flow through it, and they all flow into the Atlantic Ocean, which will play into the food that they have access to in their seafood and so forth. Also, Liberia has evergreen forest with fruit trees and rivers, which will again play in with the food that they bring. Some of the fruit trees in these evergreen forests include citrus varieties, such as there's papaya, mangoes, avocados, pineapples you're going to see are used often, cassava, which is a root vegetable. There's rice fields, sugar cane fields, plantains, bananas, and that's kind of just what this terrain comes with. Now for the history of Liberia, Liberia was founded in 1822 for the resettlement of freed enslaved African Americans. So there was a part in 1822 where a lot of African American enslaved people were sent back to Liberia and were given the opportunity to resettle and start the country there. And the name Liberia comes from the Latin word that means free. And because these newly enslaved people these newly non-enslaved people anymore, came over and had a mix with the native Liberians and then also with African Americans. So much of the culture and foods from Liberia are adapted from African American culture. So you'll see that the Liberian cuisine is a mix of West African recipes and ingredients combined with traditions of the American South, and a combination of the coastal West African and Creole, you'll see, has a play in that. And that's a little bit about Africa's history and geography. So now diving into some mealtime customs. So when food is served, it will be when typically the woman is serving the food, who is usually in charge of the prep, serving, cooking, and then the men are usually in charge of buying the food. So when the woman is setting up, the plates will be faced down with a napkin on top. So the table is set up with turned over plates and the glasses, and a napkin on top so that the guest may turn over the clean dishes for use. And the cook will bring out all of the food, and once all of the food at once. So even desserts will be given at the same time that typically dinner meals or appetizers will be served. So all the dishes will be served at the same time. And when the cook comes, she will get to present the food, and they will eat until the end of the meal. Now, there are meanings with fingers in Liberian culture. So most Liberians will eat with their fingers, although American customs have brought utensils to the dining rooms of Liberia. It's more typical that you would see native Liberians eat with their fingers. So, and there are meanings behind these fingers. So before they meet and greet each other, or when they do greet each other and they meet, they will give each other a handshake. Now, while shaking hands, they take the middle finger of the other person's right hand and snap it down and up. So you can see that presented in this photo here. Now, this tradition comes from the days of slavery, when enslavers would break a slave's finger in order to establish ownership. So this handshake, which is also referred to as a snap shake, this celebrates Liberia's freedom from slavery, and that's the meaning behind fingers. And yeah, also they do eat with their fingers before an American culture came and kind of not normalized utensils, but offered another way of eating, which could be used with utensils. Now, with the Liberian food, how and what to eat. Let's dive in. So, So a typical Liberian dinner consists of dumboy or fufu. So fufu Okay. So here is fufu, and this serves as a bread with, it's kind of with a palm oil and I guess. Okay, so continuing on, here are examples: fufu, ginger beer, which has ginger and pineapple, and then sweet potato pone is a dessert. These would all be served at the same time, along with the other pictures that you saw. And yeah, so dishes are all served at the same time: dumboy, fufu, jollof rice, ginger beer, sweet potato pone are the most common meals served. Now, talking more about fufu, fufu is a side dish which is typically used to scoop up the other foods. It's described as a bread-like, well, it is bread, and it's described as starchy, dense. It has a stretchy consistency, and it's simple, it's plain. Now, this is what you would call a swallow food. So this is something that you wouldn't want to take many bites of, probably one bite and then to swallow it. And the reason that you would swallow this food, there are swallow foods, is to allow a sensation of stomach fullness throughout the day, because instead of having these full bites, swallowing allows a fuller, denser sensation for your stomach. Now, most of the cooking is done outside on a stone hearth, as 50% of Liberians live in rural areas, and the other 50 do live in urban areas, and still most of the cooking is done outside on a stone hearth. And in restaurants and home-cooked meals, these are the most common foods that you'll see. The same things that they use in restaurants are the same meals that they present at home, where there are differences in the street food that is served due to differences between rural areas and urban areas. And these are my references that I used to